Is there an alternate way for us to get a hold of these, or can it be the deconstruction? Can it be increased to be the equivalent of when you deconstruct, say, void cloth pieces? Are there alternatives to obtain the new materials, and can they be traded as for gold as well as other materials are?
So the short answer to all of those questions is right now the way you get them is by deconstructing if you don't want to participate in the PvP. We are going to monitor, the drop rates on live on PTS. Like you said, it's pretty tough, to get a really good idea of the drop rates overall because everybody's really just kind of goofing around and killing other players.
Yeah.
But we're gonna watch it, and we're gonna make sure with our BI group, our business intelligence group, that they are not too rare. Like we want to make sure that people can participate in it. The other thing that we're trying to balance this against is basically time to acquire. So we tried really hard for this update to make sure that you can acquire good gear either via crafting, and it takes roughly the same amount of time as getting it through PvP or getting it through running the dungeons.
Understandable. I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm testing out the new gear. I love the feel of gameplay. I love the gear sets and what they do. The monster helms are amazing. Just the feel of playstyle, the overall look of the game is just wonderful, and we love a lot of the things that you've done. I'm just, as a crafter, it's a little daunting for me, and I would really love to be able to see these sets at work. Aside from
somebody's alarm's going off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just aside from an elite group, because what I'm afraid is going to happen is a special elite group of people who grind it out will have these sets and others won't, and I'd love to see that in action on a large scale.
Cardi is going to join us.
Another thing, that you talked about was deconstructing, only getting one item.
Yeah, I was actually just deconstructing as we speak on the PTS, just to make sure that my numbers are right. And I understand this is the PTS and not the final. It seems that the deconstruction rate is you only get 1 unit per piece of deconstruction or drop, which is not equivalent to what we're used to. So I'm wondering if that's going to be increased, or could it be equivalent to what we gained from deconstruction now?
Yeah, and that falls in with we're trying to have parity for the time to acquire. So we'll definitely look at it when it goes live more.
Okay.
To make sure the drop rates are equal. Like if it's taking a crafter an average of 40 hours to make one piece of gear, and people running dungeons or PvP are getting it every 10 hours, we're gonna make sure we make them more equal.
Thank you.
And the third thing was V14 stuff is still dropping instead of V15 and V16.
Well, I didn't want to speak on that too much, only because I haven't had a chance to play the new dungeons. I didn't get a chance to play White Gold Tower, or I did the arena, but I didn't do the dungeons or the pledges. So we're not sure. The question, I assume, is, are the pledges going to be dropping VR15 and VR16 as well? And will they be upgraded to match those levels, or are we going to only be doing that in the Imperial City to gain those homes?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I would have to check with Phil, who's our lead systems guy. That's been doing a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
I think I don't remember. I don't want to speak out and get it wrong.
The other question is, when I today went through all the chests, there's still V14 armor inside those instead of V15 in a lot of them.
In the treasure chests, you mean? The lockpick chests?
Yep, the nice blue glowy things.
Yeah. Again, I assume that falls in line with the drop rate and whatnot. So again, that's another topic I didn't really prepare to bring up, because I assumed that would be addressed as well as in line with the drop rates and the economy and whatnot.
Right. And we're using the templated character, so you're VR 16 when you're hitting the chests?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, and the next thing we were talking about was some concern about the Telvar stones, the loss when you die. We did appreciate the change that it went to 80% instead of 100%, but that's still an awful lot to lose. I'm sure you'll be monitoring it, but it's a question of, are you going to be looking at maybe reducing that percentage if it seems like, even losing 50 or 60% is still a pretty hefty penalty. You're going to want to avoid that. And then the fact that you lose it to NPCs and falling as well just is going to make it even harder to gather that stuff up.
To give you a little note on that is right now we know of guilds that are starting specifically to go hunting to basically raid every one of the stones. So they're forming guilds actually for that, which, it's a neat idea. However, think of the impact that will have on, the more lowly players who are trying to, not larger guilds who are trying to get their gears.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely another one of those balanced things, right? We'll obviously watch it at launch, at live, but one of the things that we definitely have seen on PTS is stones come pretty fast and furious, and when you try to go out and get them, if you have a partner, you're going to earn 2 to 3K, even more, an hour, and so that fits pretty close to what we had kind of hoped for, when we originally envisioned it.
Oh,
Right.
And to be fair, that's the sewers too. That's
and that's down in the sewers.
That's what I was assuming, that if this content was made for PvP groups, so that the multiplier would work in line with having that many people in your group to gain the stones, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you have decent gear, you can run through and you can solo most of the base pop. But if you get, a big bad sweeper or some of the mini bosses, you're gonna have a, pretty tough time as a solo player. So if you have a buddy, you can go around and pretty much trash everything except for the sweepers.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're seeing in the base Imperial City is the against warring against other factions. While we're in there, is they'll pull one of the big jeweled bosses, one faction will, and suddenly you've got this huge boss chasing you around while you're fighting with other players, and everybody just kind of panics. It's neat, but it's kind of funny to watch.
Sneak, do you mean having a minimum that you can't lose any unless you're over that certain amount? Responding to the comments down below.
No, I was referring to like a safe banked percentage of your stones that you accrue during your time playing, but I'm not exactly sure how it would actually work out. But knowing that you have a safe bank percentage would also be a nice feature that you can't lose while you're out and about.
Thank you, Shane. That does answer the question on the Monster Homes.
So the next thing, I think you guys just kind of answered it, but there was some concern, people saying that you can't really solo most of the mobs unless you're like Superman. So it feels a little bit like Craiglorn, where they could solo things up through Caldwell's Gold and Silver, but once you get into this newer content in the higher levels, it's much harder to solo most of the content. And, I think that's what you're intending, but I think people are also looking to have some more areas that would be added soon where we will be able to play those solo. These mobs currently are even harder because you have to be prepared to fight them while still holding a certain amount back, because you know that other players could jump you. So if you kill a mob and you drain yourself, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tuned to be harder for for a solo player. I mean, we want that friction in there where you can kind of run around and pick things off, but if you really want to dig in, bring a friend or make sure you got a bunch of gear and whatnot.
Yeah, and I guess to piggyback on that, we knew that there's a little bit of concern still about the Craiglorn. You need 4 people to do everything, style content. So we backed off a bit. And from everything we've tested internally and everything we've kind of seen, if it's just like two of you, even battle leveled, you can run through and handle the content pretty well, except for like the sweepers. Obviously, those are even designed to handle like 4 to 8 people. So the sweepers, just forget about it unless you have a group. But the majority of the content in there, including the questing, that was really geared around you and a friend or you solo, decently geared. And when I say decently, I mean like purples and golds, not necessarily greens and blues. So I don't think it's too hard of a stretch, but the fact that we backed it off of hard group actually needed and just going in duo has helped out a lot. But that's also, we're looking ahead for when veteran ranks get removed and we do things with the champion system. Like we have to be prepared for that as well. So it's not just a one-shot expansion of this is the difficulty, that's it. We're kind of looking ahead at how the difficulty is going to be across the board for a while.
Sure.
Yes, and we understand that this DLC is focused around PvP and some group content, while future DLCs will be more focused around PvE. So we do appreciate the forethought very much. And as I said before, a lot of the changes in PvP have been something that we have been addressing for so long, and we thank you so much for handling it.
There is, if I may, there is a bug. Well, I don't know if it's a bug or not. If I have 0 telestones and somebody kills me, it says they get 50 or however many. But I don't have any on me at all.
Yeah, I think that's a UI error that we know about, where like it's saying that you lost some or it's saying that they got some when you didn't have any.
Yeah, I've had that too.
That should be fixed, I think.
Actually, it's kind of an interesting concept that they would get something for killing you even if you have none. Although it might mean they'd pick on you even more.
No, we tested that actually with a group of 4 players where we went against a group of about 4 of each other faction, and when you kill a player repeatedly, you no longer gain anything, which is fine. That's the way it's supposed to be.
I'll still be farmers.
Yeah, of course, always.
Farmers and campers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll pick up for the next couple. So the trophies and stuff, we're very concerned to make sure that those remain tradable so that people without the DLC can access them. I think that's something that's currently available.
You mean like the bone shards and such?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're staying tradable. They were always intended to be tradable.
Fabulous.
You make us very happy.
And then the bank space, we definitely like getting the extra bank space. We're wondering if there's a way that can be put over into the... Apparently I'm coughing for a second. We like the extra bag space, and we're wondering if it can be translated to extra bank space as well. The reason is that we've got all these new materials. We're going to have to store extra stuff, and a lot of crafters like myself like to keep all our materials in our bank so we can access it anywhere. And I already can't store all my materials because if I try to do every craft and I try to have stacks of all this stuff in my bank, I run out. I can't, right now my alchemy is what's out. I can't store my alchemy in my bank. So if we're getting new items, we'd really like to have the personal banks and also possibly the guild banks expanded to give us space for this extra stuff. Artemis?
Yeah, because we did bring concerns before, say like having like guild bank tabs and so on, so that we can separate some of the stuff. But that's another big thing is that as we're saying about the bank space, you'll have a lot of people donating items to the guilds and stuff like that, and it's kind of limited with only 500 spots in a bank compared to 500 members in a guild. So we were wondering if there any possibilities or thoughts about having that increased in the future. Or guild tabs.
So the size of the banks are really directly related to database size. You know, when you have a million people that all have access to 500 bank slots, it fills the database up. I know we're looking at increasing it. I don't know when or how feasible that is, but it's definitely something we've looked at.
See, that's what I was thinking. If you guys did it in a tab system, then like, let's say there will only be a small percentage of people who can access XYZ amount of tabs. Therefore, that'll even lower the amount of hits that you get because it'll be on a separate timer if they're going into the upper echelon of the tabs.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about that, especially with doing the tabbed bank system for guilds. That's another thing that's on our list.
That's the big thing is for the guilds, because if you
Is that on
did
your
that,
list?
Yes, it's on my list.
We have been begging for it for so long, and do you have
I
any
know.
idea if it's soon or like far away still?
I have seen the designs for it, but I don't know
Beautiful.
when it would make it in.
Hey, it's enough to know that you're working on it for me. We can go on to the next topic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coda Tree, can you pick up the next couple of sections for us?
Alrighty. Where are we? We're on
New runes.
Okay, the new runes. Let me just put basically, for the new ruins, I saw you have the V15s and you have the V16s. There's not really a way to farm those that I saw, and even gain the new essence inside of IC. So, and the hireling, and it must be a bug or maybe it's fixed now. The hireling is not giving you a V15 and 16 max. It's still giving just V10 to V14. And that's with a maxed out crafter.
Okay. That one I have to take notes on because that's definitely a Phil question, and I'm not super familiar with how all of the drop stuff works with crafting right now.
Okay. Basically, we just need a way so we can get those materials because we know there's no nodes in IC. We do know, well, we think we know that in Arsenium there will be tons of nodes. All right, the next one was provisioning. The provisioning, you've increased all the crafting by 1 point, by 1 skill point. The thing is, provisioning you didn't. So right now, there's no way to tell a V15 recipe from a V10 recipe.
Except with an add-on.
Except for an add-on, yes.
Actually, that would just be nice to have in the game, having it tell you without the add-on what level a recipe is before you learn it. But I think the main concern is that we want to be able to get the new recipes from writs if possible. That would be really nice. It'd be more motivation to do those writs.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's another Phil question. I do know we have talked about doing something akin to a master writ, but that's kind of out of ways a little bit. But Phil's definitely really passionate about doing something like that to add kind of the end game kind of idea to the writ system.
Oh, would that also mean that we would get... Because right now, the rewards for writs, and we talked about it in the last meeting, but the rewards for writs were kind of... Nobody was doing most of the writs. And with the new glass shard motifs, everybody's looking at doing them again, but it'd be nice to have something that gave you a consistently satisfying reward for doing those writs. For doing a harder one.
Yeah, that's the general idea. I mean, it's still, like I said, it's still something that we're looking into, but Phil is definitely really passionate about that.
Well, the suggestions we made, it's in one of our previous note sheets, and I could give you our old note sheets if you wanted, but we really wanted to have, for example, the traits that we've spent literally most of a year learning how to make 9 trait sets, and for a master level writ, it would be kind of neat to be able to use that and make it satisfying that we can make that 9 trait set. That's kind of off topic. That was a previous one.
The next thing was just heavy sacks NIC are not clickable. Or if they are, I just can't click them. It's just what I've tried every heavy sack I could find, and I couldn't click any of them.
Yeah, we've reported that several times internally, and our QA gang has had trouble trying to reproduce that. So we'll tell them again. We're hoping maybe that this. Did you check after today's PTS? Because we did put in.
Yes, I did.
And this still couldn't happen, huh?
Correct.
All right. Well, we'll have to bug them again, because that's one that's been reported a couple times now, and we've our QA gang has been trying to repro it, but for some reason they can click them every single time. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
All right, the next thing deals with glass. The fragments are tradable. We know that. And we know that it costs 22 or 20K, you know, once you get your fragments and you put it together with the thing you get from the Mystic. But here's the thing, you get a random page, and that random page is not tradable. Can we make it tradable?
I thought the pages were, so I'll have to. That's again another Phil thing, so I'll have to follow up with Phil.
Okay, yeah, because it's not tradable. So what's happening is you get the random page, and you can't sell it or do anything with it.
And if you have to spend 20K in cash to get a random page, about the time you get the 3rd feat, you're going to go into total rage.
Yeah, we made a fix today for the cost, so we reduced it a little bit. It'll be in for live. It's not on PTS yet.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Okay, Elf, back to you.
What are we on? Okay, the next issues are from somebody that's in Australia and therefore not present right now, but they were having trouble on the PTS because it wasn't saving their variables, so their add-ons weren't working.
That was fixed today.
Was that fixed?
User was moved to your channel.
Oh, well then I'll just delete that. We'll take that off the list.
User was moved to your channel.
And then for the Imperial City, there's been a lot of general concern about the population limit, because you've got a population limit for Cyrodiil and you'll have to go in a queue. Does the population limit for Cyrodiil apply to the Imperial City, or is it a separate population limit? Or we're not sure how that's working, but we all want to get in the Imperial City as soon as possible.
Hey, that's a concrete answer for that one. The fact that it's all linked. Like if you go into a cave, it shares the same population, just like going into Imperial City or the sewers will share population. But if you leave, this has been something that we've been asked about. Like if you go into Imperial Prison or White Gold Tower, it pulls you out of the campaign entirely 100%, which is why when you leave those dungeons, you go back to PvE territory. So in terms of population, it's shared across Cyrodiil, the caves, the sewers, and the districts. So when people leave Cyrodiil and they flow into the districts, they're literally leaving Cyrodiil empty. People aren't backfilling it.
Okay. But we're still probably going to have to queue to get onto some of these PvP servers.
You'll need to queue to get into the campaign itself. This is true. I've talked with Rich, I've talked with Gina and Jess and everybody, and we're going to be watching the population like hawks during the first week. And if we need to fire up like a new campaign because queues are ridiculous, because a ton of people flew back to play Imperial City, then we'll look at opening another campaign or possibly raising population cap. It's going to depend on how the server performance goes. Like you guys talked about earlier, there were some fixes we added, but checking out those fixes on PTS is different than checking out those fixes on live. So we'll be looking at the population a lot during the first week and seeing if we need to crack open another one to help out with population queuing issues. Oh,
hey, I might even, if we suggested last time that you guys make a benefit of being subscribed that you get to skip ahead in the queues to get to Cyrodiil, that would probably get a lot of people to resubscribe about now if you did that.
Yeah, that's been banning around a little bit. I'm not gonna say we're doing it, but that has been one of the things of, hey, subscribers to get front of the line. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
I would totally pay for that.
Yep.
I would
Okay,
too.
let's see. The next issue on our list was that this one's kind of tied into the PTS because if I want to get gold tempers, the only way to get them is going to be to farm raw materials, but you can't farm raw materials to get the new stuff. So people are probably going to go back to Craiglorn to farm raw materials. And right now, Upper Craiglorn is... We've been concerned that the Nirncrux drops are just too rare. I've spent 3 hours farming before and not got a single drop. If we're driving more people back to Craiglorn to farm because they're going to be gathered there to try to get some of the tempers, it might get even more crowded there. Its suggestion was making it possible to just drop Nirncrux around the rest of Craiglorn, which would spread people out more.
Phil and I have actually talked about that very thing. I don't remember off the top of my head what we decided though, so I'd have to ping Phil on that again.
It's a great idea. You should go with it.
All of Craiglorn.
The next one is the Twice-Born set. Azrael, did you want to talk about these next couple?
Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so I'm sure you guys are aware, I know that you guys are aware of the Twice-Born star set bug being able to retain the Mundus Stones after the set was removed, and I know that you stated that if you had those Mundus Stone buffs without the Twice-Born star set, that they will be removed upon login. Fabulous. What I'm wondering is, will this prevent them from getting effects again after logging in, or can they remain logged in with these extra buffs? I mean, is this a permanent fix or just a login fix?
So we fixed the bug, which was allowing you to remove the set and still keep the buffs. So if you remove the set when you have 2 buffs on, it'll knock one of them off. And then the other part of the fix we did was to make sure that on login we stripped all of the buffs off people, because there's some people on live that have 4 and 5 Mundus Stone buffs right now.
Yeah, and that's a big thing we're facing in PvP. One of the biggest pain points we have. The next issue with that, falls kind of in line with that, was, and I know you guys get this all the time, is the latency and lag, and I know that you're working on it. There's still serious issues in veteran PvP, and it's like a super pain point for most of us. Some guilds are training their entire focus. Their focus is training their guilds and their builds around AoE lagging, lag switching, and specific exploits as a viable playstyle. I was wondering if there was a way that we could submit, instead of just a help ticket or reporting a player, if there's a possible way to submit in-game video footage of offending players, since that seems to be the best way of catching them.
Well, so putting them in, the problem with doing that, coming from a CS background many years ago, is the answer from CS is very likely going to be, well, they're just using the game mechanics, and it's up to the developers to handle fixing that. And it's kind of a crappy answer, but it sadly is the actual answer, which they would give you if you did appeal them in game. We are aware of very specific abilities, and we're actually going to be trying to fix some of those specifically pretty soon. We have a meeting in the coming week to try nailing down exactly where we're going to go with it, because there are a lot of things we could do. These are just things that we're talking about. Don't take this as yes, we're going to do this, but we could add cooldowns, we could make cast times, we could limit how many passives you have to limit the amount of information going through. This is the things that could happen, but we know all of those are unpopular. So we're going to be trying to figure out what's the best route to go, trying to have the server route everything a little bit better. But that takes time to do. Yeah, like Alpha Space, don't limit my passives. So it's not an easy solution that we're trying to figure out.
I know.
There were some LOS changes we did that we hope will help it in update 7, but we know it's an issue, and Rich has been pounding on me a bit to say, hey, what can we do to try and get this stuff fixed?
Well,
A bit?
A bit. A lot?
A bit.
Well, I know you guys consider a lot of things, and I don't want to seem pompous, but I had some possible solutions if you would be willing to consider them, and I'm not sure how viable they are.
Dude, I just listed a bunch that you guys will probably rage quit on, so by all means, go ahead and give us your suggestions.
Okay. One of the things could be, I'm not sure how viable this is again, could be to isolate the PvP servers to a specific server node that would only be dedicated to the current population or the population that seems to spike at the most relevant times, devoting resources that is experiencing the most latency or lag. And I know that's hard to do because the population is consistently in flux, and I know that that could cause complications. But one model I've seen work successfully is to actually schedule large fights via the ticket system to give advance notice to the game masters so that they have time to react to the server load. That has happened in several other games, and I'm not sure how viable it is here, but it's a suggestion. Another thing is to direct resources to Cyrodiil's most active hours, like the weekends, and I know that's changeable around the world, but say maybe Thursday through Sunday. And also there's the possibility of time dilation. It's similar to pouring data through a funnel.
Like Eve.
Yes, exactly. And I put the link in there for you guys. And I know that this game engine model is nothing like Eve. I understand that. So I'm not sure how viable it would be, but it seems to reduce a lot of server problems.
Yeah, time dilation, I remember bringing that up to some of our lead. Sorry for the beep in the background. That is actually something we've brought up, and in Eve, it kind of, in Hot Pocket, it's actually pizza, sorry. That is actually something brought up in terms of slowing down time, in case anybody's curious what that means, where it sort of takes the messages and spreads them out over a period of time. So it sort of seems like things are going in slow motion, and it works pretty well in Eve. I don't know how well it would work with our game because it's very action oriented, kind of much more Twitch, not the show stuff, but fast reflex oriented. So I don't know how much time dilation would help. It may just appear like lag, but that is something we have actually we've brought it up. So that's where we've actually brought the same things up internally. As far as some of the other suggestions, Rich is listening, and I'm sure he can bring them up with us internally too. But they're all good ideas.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Time dilation, I think I'd like that better than the current lag, because the current lag, you can be standing someplace, and all of a sudden somebody gets off like 10 attacks on you that you don't even see or have time to respond to, and then you suddenly unlag and you're dead. But time dilation, if it got bad, things slow down, it would actually give you a little bit more time to respond, but at least you wouldn't be having this like standstill that you get right now, or this, you think something's going on and then all of a sudden you're like 2 minutes behind and you're dead.
Yeah, you're swinging and swinging and swinging, nothing's happening, and all of a sudden all the damage comes through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting thing on that point. Some people are using the print screen button to flood the server so that all the commands that you're given shoots you out all at once. I don't know if you guys are aware that.
Yeah, I know about that one too. Yep.
So the only suggestion we came up with that we can do to avoid that is that if you're flagged for PvP, like not PvP, if you're flagged in combat, you cannot press print screen. There you go, problem solved.
Yeah, that was the one we brought up before, the print screen bug.
People are pathetic.
I thought that one got fixed, the print screen bug.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, not yet.
Might have been a different one.
All right, speaking of bugged behavior, is everybody finished with the previous topic?
I had one more question, that's it.
Okay, go ahead.
I love the chain suppression. I love it. the chain suppression and the streaking to enemy platforms and dying from environmental damage is amazing. Thank you so much for that. I'm wondering if that's going to apply to all of Cyrodiil or just the Imperial City.
The chain suppression,
The,
like in
the
terms.
not being able to, for instance, exploiters, DKs chaining themselves up to the inner part of keeps that aren't down yet.
So that works out really well in Cyrodiil because we have a kill. I'm sorry, in Imperial City because we have a kill plane associated with it. I have thought about painting those down around the base of inner keeps. We have them already in the back portion of inner keeps. Like, you know how like Glade Mist, it's the most basic keep I can think of, where it's a square keep, and where the back walls hook into the inner keep, there actually is chain suppression painted all the way in the back to keep the guys from pulling and yanking. Not that many people do it anymore because when we put it in, they went, "Oh, I should stop doing that." But they can still do it, like where you pointed out, where the inner keep, if they're standing right below near the inner keep's main door, they can yank them in. I've thought about adding it there too. That's one I'm a little bit more worried about adding there because you could literally be trying to chain pull somebody in legit play space, and our ability to paint down those quote unquote subzones is what we call them, where it's just like a portion that the server recognizes that this ability needs to be applied to you, is not as granular as we would like it.
So it's harder to pinpoint it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to add them there, but it's not going to line up perfectly across the board. Like, it may work out great at Glade Mist, but it may work out terribly in Farragill.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I'd like to do it, but it's a little bit rough to kind of get it as granular and precise as we'd like.
Well, we appreciate you working on it nonetheless. Thank you so much. And that's it for me. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, thank you. I'm being a good boy by mentioning this. I do not see anybody reporting this on the forums. Are you guys aware that the Spell Power Cure set is able to proc the spell damage and weapon damage bonuses on the caster? The 5-line, let me read it, is healing an ally at 100% health grants them 220, and that's just a sample value, spell damage and weapon damage for 3 seconds, and that absolutely works on your self-heals, and it doesn't sound like it's in the spirit of the tooltip, so I was wondering if that's intended or not.
Server group assigned.
Where's Eric when you need him? I honestly, I don't know. What set was that?
Spell Power Cure, and the bonus that is received when you heal anybody, including yourself, at 100% health applies to the target, and it, according to the tooltip, it doesn't sound like it should land on the caster. So I thought I'd report that. On a lighter note, thank you guys so much for fixing the damage mitigation check on shields. I noticed that yesterday, and that is so nice. Just thank you so much. Forever they were bugged, where it didn't check the defense after it overflowed, and now it doesn't, and that just personally for me, thank you.
So that Spell Cure, that's one of the new armor sets, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the document. Real quick, we're kind of getting towards the end here. Is anybody, I know that not everybody made it to our prep meeting, so does anybody have stuff to add pertaining to the new updates or the Imperial City that we've not yet gone over?
Yeah, I have something real quick. I'm sure you've noticed in the PS, the new Imperial City, that Nightblades, that the class itself is pretty much combined with the High Elf class. Like, you can pretty much cloak forever. And as Artmetus was saying, he's been noticing that you see Nightblades, you know, ganking groups of Nightblade make it really hard to move around Imperial City. He suggested that there should be certain spots where there's like a mage light where you can't stealth, if that makes sense. Like in the loot areas, it'd be nice to have an unstealth zone. You know what I'm saying?
We added see-through stealth on the sweepers, but that may not be enough kind of what you guys have, like the patrol and torch mobs. So all the sweepers in the districts now, they will basically see you pop you out. But that's
I'm
not to say
talking
we
about
couldn't add more.
player versus player.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the suggestions we were making is that if we have like larger rooms, then if you have like a permanent, what's in this spell that shows the cloak, if you have that in a permanent, in the bigger rooms, and then you have the smaller rooms off the side where they can run and hide if they need to, then it'll actually make a balance to it, I guess.
Sorry, I'm looking at Sneak Thief. Like in terms of we could add some stealth detection guys. Right now, when you have like the immunity buff on you, you can't stealth. Like that was a new thing that got added into the PTS, where like if I go through from district to district using the big doors or the side doors, I can't sneak anymore. So you can't necessarily sneak bomb somebody. But we could look at adding some more stealth areas if we see them pop up. Sorry, non-stealth areas. If we see that popping up is a bigger issue, if the sweepers aren't doing enough of popping people out. Sort of like, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys rolled Dark Agers, but remember the pillar that you could drop it down and there would be like, this is a no stealth area, sort of like that. Maybe trying to decipher if we could add a NPCs that drop those as well, besides players, because players have a couple abilities that they can use to pop people out besides Mage Light. So those are the things we've talked about, but I haven't checked this. I'm reading Sneak Thief's thing here. Haven't checked the latest update, but will guards or NPCs be placed at the Imperial City entrances? Now, are you talking in Cyrodiil? Like
well, I'm more concerned about in actual IC itself, because if you think about it, well, it's going to be no matter what, it's going to be a Nightblade playground. But which understandable, nothing wrong with that. But I guess the concern is that it'll turn off a lot of people if everybody's going to just want to play Nightblade, because no matter where you go, with the exception of where the sweepers are, the detection won't be there, and they can stay basically perma-stealth with the new changes.
Yeah, I think what Imperial City is showing is, because it's faster PvP, faster respawning, that the Nightblades kind of excel in that format, as opposed to in Cyrodiil, where crossing large swaths of territory stealth isn't good for them. So that's stuff that we can bring up with Eric, but also just kind of like what you guys have suggested, adding a couple places where no matter what you do, you can't stealth is a possibility.
Sneak Thief, did you want to explain your question below?
Yeah, sure. I've noticed it was a huge problem, especially for players like myself who are not that experienced in PvP. When we're going to the Imperial City, the tunnel we have to take on a daily basis was camped by enemy factions, and very experienced players were camping these areas, which prevented a lot of players from actually getting access to the Imperial City. So in many cases, it would take a group of 8 to even kill, 2 enemy players, depending on their skill level. And I was just wondering, was any unkillable guards or any other like mages or NPCs going to be set up or a truce zone so that we can at least enter content that we pay for
There
more
aren't
easily?
any planned right now for out there, because each of those entrances are alliance agnostic. So we wouldn't be able to place like an Aldmeri guard out there in the Aldmeri territory, because let's say you own all the keeps around Imperial City because you're trying to go for an Emperor run, you should be able to get into it anytime you want. But that's not to exclude the possibility of adding the immunity buff, like
right,
the whole
the
thing where
truce
you
zone.
just can't do anything point blank. We may, if we see it becoming like a major problem on live, then we can paint that down too.
Yeah, I think that would be excellent.
Okay, so I think we had a few other things not as related to the Imperial City that we had kind of typed up previously. I'm going to kind of skip over most of those. They're in the document if you want to read through them. One of the main ones was trials. When you kill a boss, if people are dead, they don't get a chance to get the loot. So people that have completed SO and died at the last second and there's no reses left, we were hoping that there could be a way to get the reward for somebody who got all the way there and then just died in the last second.
Happened to me last night, in fact.
For that, the suggestions were to either have an NPC that you could talk to pick up the reward from the final boss, or to have a way that it could be sent out to you in your mail as like similar to the PvP rewards.
That one's more for Rich or people that aren't necessarily in the chat, sadly.
Well, I mean, it's something we've talked about. We're looking at, you're doing this in normal or in veteran?
Well, like SO, like Sanctum of Phidia is one of the ones that people really get upset if they die, and you only have so many reses. And so if your group completes Sanctum and you're dead, you don't get the reward.
Right. So we are talking about, for the new trial we're building, and sorry if you hear crazy dogs in the background, they're playing. We're talking about making the trials a little bit more accessible, especially the new one that we're building as a test. So in normal mode, we'll take away, or we're talking about taking away the soul meter, the number of resurrections, and only doing that in the hard mode.
I love it.
Yeah, that would help. Then
Because
your training run
obviously,
lasts for
you know,
12
normal
hours.
mode, we want more people to be able to play, and we want it to be accessible. And with the limited reses and whatnot, that kind of makes it a turnoff for a lot of people.
Rich has very, very big dogs, like huge dogs.
Oh my
I have a big
God.
dog
Over
and a
there.
little dog.
Well, today's dog day, as we discussed before everybody else got in here. Apparently, according to Jan, what is it officially?
National
tell
Dog
you.
Day.
Kodri, you had one, or Kodetri. Crap, don't kill me if I butcher your name. CP stuff we are actually looking at, like I think Eric has talked about it and Richard talked about it, talking about caps and seasons for champion points. There's nothing solid at the moment, but we are talking about it.
Okay, so IC is not going to have the cap then.
It will not.
I have an IC related question if there's time.
Sure.
From a casual solo player perspective, I guess just first I want to make sure I understand this right. Is it correct that the only two paths to getting mats to craft your VR 15 and 16 gear would either be running group PvE or running PvP? Is that right?
You can also, well, I mean, if you're talking about mats, you can break down any V15 and 16 thing, and you will get V15 and 16 stuff through the rewards for the worthy as well. So I don't know how casual that is.
But is there any place to get it outside of Imperial City, which is PvP, or the group dungeons, which are group PvE? No solo way to get those mats. Is that correct?
Short of getting the rewards for the worthy bag, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I think that is correct. Rich, can you back me up on that?
I believe that is the case.
Just a suggestion, because I am a solo casual player. You know, I get time about once every fourth Sunday to actually play the game because I'm busy running guilds. But that seems to be a point of frustration for people who aren't good at group content, that this is a first, that there's really no way to get that, to get a hold of that stuff. And, you know, and I get if you want the best raid gear, you need to go raid. If you want the best PvP gear, you need to go PvP. But if you just want to craft a basic set with your basic crafting skills, there ought to be a solo path to get some of that material without having to shop the guild store for it. And I say that running a trade guild. And a suggestion I would put out there is to have like some daily quests where you run something that's like a delve, and there'd be on-level characters in there, that would give you not as much as if you go farm Televar stones or go on raids, but something somewhat significant that you could do every day as a solo person. A happy place they could go without entering a gank fest, which they won't enjoy. So I just wanted to put that out there. I love the new content. I love what's happening for PvP players. It all looks great, but it seems like that's the one thing that was kind of overlooked, and that there's really no solo way to go get and make yourself some basic gear.
We do have the repeatable daily district quests once you finish off the main storyline for Imperial City. That's a little bit more solo friendly. Have you ran through any of those yet? Because they give you a Telvar bag that it's basically Telvar stones protected until you crack it open, that you can then use to buy the gear.
So to do those quests, you wouldn't be doing any PvP?
You would be, technically all of Imperial City and the sewers are PvP flagged, but you don't have to do PvP to do it. It's a PvE focused quest. It's like go out, kill a couple NPCs, come back, turn it in, and you'll get the bag of Telvar Stone goodies.
For instance, the quest where you protect the doors.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like there are repeatables out there to do once you finish the main quest that don't involve I have to kill other players. You can do them. But I get what you're saying that, it's in the PvP zone, therefore it's PvP content.
Yeah, and I just think a lot of the drama on the forums, I think much of it, especially those that are upset, are coming from people who don't like the PvP and don't run group stuff, and it feels like if they were tossed some kind of bone, it might be a little bit smoother for all. And I'm not looking to dilute anything, but it's just a suggestion I want to type out there. I personally won't have a lot of time to go run PvP, but I do like to make my own gear. I like to collect mats for others and give them away and stuff like that, and it seemed a little bit challenging in the way the setup is to do that.
Unless it's been changed, there was one other way to get the mats. It was at one point on the PTS, don't know if it was changed with the revision or not. It's very slow, but you did occasionally get them through hireling bags.
Yeah, that would be really slow. One thing, I played Lotro for many years, and one thing they had that was kind of cool is exactly what I suggested, and I don't know why, because in Lotro there never was an area that didn't have nodes. You could farm all you wanted everywhere, but they had these daily crafting quests that you'd go into a cave and you'd kill whatever's in there, and it would rotate through different types of mobs that would drop different types of mats. And then at the end, you turn in some rewards, get some loot boxes, and get a little more. It wasn't huge quantities of mats, but it was enough to make it worth doing and feel like you were actively collecting the stuff you needed to get your gear eventually. So anyway, I want to toss that out there. I don't want to take up too much more time, but thank you for listening to that.
One quick solution to that is just make all the pledges drop the V15 and V16 armor, so people can craft it. So when they do their pledges, they can get that armor, because you're going to increase the pledges anyways. Just instead of, I guess you guys were planning to do a V14, maybe just make it V15, 16.
I think I'm confused because I thought you could get the new materials from the new pledges, but since I haven't been on the PTS, I'm kind of counting on other people's word on that. Right now, if you do the Undaunted, can you get V15 and 16 stuff or not?
Well, that's still group content, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was suggesting a path to get materials without running group content or PvP.
No, but I'm just trying to figure out if that is in those or not, just so we know.
Gotcha.
To be honest, when we tested, we only got V14. We didn't get V15 stuff, so. Is that still a bug? Or is it what you guys attended? The pledges to be V14 armor drops? I'm not talking the helmets, I'm just talking the regular garbage armor. Stuff we would decon.
We can find out in less than a week, I guess. I think we need to start wrapping up here. We did have a couple of things. I thought we were actually going to move through the content faster, so I had a couple extra stuff at the end that we're going to skip. And it sounded like I was really excited to hear that you guys are working on some of our guild tools requests, because since we are a group of guild leaders, those things is kind of near and dear to our heart. This week in particular, the inability to retract a bid caused one of the major trade guilds that was in Aralka to be elsewhere, and there's a guild in Aralka that has less than a page of listings. So
Been there.
yeah, that's happened again. Also, I had a meeting yesterday where we spent, I think we literally spent 20 minutes trying to figure out who was going to send guild mails about what, because everybody's been social banned so many times for sending out too many guild mails that we actually spent more time talking about who was able to send a guild mail without getting social banned than what we were going to send a mail about. And I was so some of those other things that we've been asking for a while, you know, we would really like to see that worked on, but we know that, you know, now's the time that you're starting to get some of that stuff in the docket.
You missed one, Elf.
Which one?
This would not be a get-together with ZeniMax if we didn't beg for you to please move the rollover time for the bids. We hate getting up at 5 and 7 in the morning.
Actually, Jason promised to get us an answer to this one, and I meant to send him a mail and see if he ever got it, because we've been wondering if there's any reason that the bid rollover has to be the same time as the maintenance. Because Azrael, I mean, I think she almost died the day that she had spent 7 hours sitting there waiting for the maintenance to finish so she could get a backup stall for a guild, and she'd already been, you know, she thought, oh, I can stay up late and just not sleep and do this thing. I thought you were going to just like pass out when that happened. So
yeah, I'd stayed up all night, and I was patching and couldn't even get in, so I had to have somebody else go over and grab it, and then they weren't part of the guild, so I had to have Elf come from work and go grab it.
I actually had to call off sick from work that day, like for like not call off sick, but like call off work for a half hour to get that done. But is that something that, is there a reason that the guild rollover is the same exact time as maintenance? Is there like something that makes that easier to happen that way?
I don't know the answer to it, but I can tell you that there was just an email chain about it today, and Jason did mention that you guys had talked about this. And I think the last update I saw was that they needed to talk to an engineer about doing the work or something. I'm trying to find the email, and of course I can't find it right now, but somebody else can talk if you know the answer.
And there's two reasons that this is kind of a big deal to us. Number one, it's still possible to spy on bids. So if you're in a bigger guild in a high value area, you're upping your bid at the last minute to protect yourself. And I think most of the really big guilds are doing that. I know I do. And the second thing is, if you do lose your bid, if you're not on at that rollover time, you don't know, and you can't go, you know, try to secure an open slot. So, you know, having it be at, you know, was it 5 a.m. West and 8 a.m. East, 7 a.m. when it's not daylight savings time is just really rough on us late night gamers. I mean, I'm no spring chicken, and I think it's been about a year now where I'm getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep every Sunday night. And so for all that is holy, I beg you.
Well, the other thing is that, you know, like this Monday, I'm guessing we're going to have another, just wild guess here, 6 to 8 hour patch, just because it takes that long when you put out a major update. Last time we had one of those patches, one of my guilds that I'm watching for lost their bid, and so I literally spent 8 hours, and I shouldn't take a game this seriously, but I was afraid to go pee because I didn't want to miss the game coming back up and miss the chance to go get that stall. So you're tied to that computer for 8 hours, and you can't do anything in that time.
That's what bedpans are for. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Hey, I work an hour away. I literally took my laptop to work, so I'm sitting there in the middle of an IT group, breaking up my laptop at lunchtime to see if the server's patched yet.
I'm a caretaker for my husband.
I talk to my coworkers.
Yeah, I'm a caretaker for my husband. He's like, "What are you doing up all night at 5 a.m. on that game for?" I'm like, "Bits."
Anyway, we'll wait for the message from Jason about it to see what kind of update we get, and thank you for that. Sorry. So we don't want to whine anymore. We're going to stop. Thank you guys for coming. Did you guys have any questions for us?
Not specifically. I will have lots of questions when we get Orsinium onto PTS. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
I plan to get on the PTS next time. I plan to not have a wedding in Oregon that takes me away for like half of the time frame.
I asked another group this the other day, with the campaign changes coming. Do you guys have like a preference of which campaign you're going to go into in terms of the rule set?
Honestly, it's just for me personally, I'm going to be spending a lot of time in there, going for those new jewelry, especially with the buff that came out for that today. You guys made those things like scary best in slot, but moving on, it's probably just going to end up on, whichever one is favorable for the faction. So, however the rule set lands for that, something that we can close off, something that AD for myself has a population on. Personally, that's how I would choose.
Dick hasn't decided, but I think the general consensus is we're going to try Hatteras for the short term, just to see how it works out. Because if we hate it, we can move on to another campaign.
Yeah, but the resource campaign is seemingly starting off to be pretty popular.
Yeah.
Which campaign?
The
resource
campaign that has resources, because if you look at
User left your channel.
Sorry for the user left your channel. There's 54 things that can generate points in that campaign, and they're all takeable by 2 people.
What we absolutely love is that is the locking down and the variety that you're providing in the different campaigns, because the campaign jumping and the low pop bonuses that people were taking advantage of is now going to be a thing of the past. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that one's been kind of a long stew of redoing the campaign rule sets and trying to figure out if we can have the server run the faster campaign population and scoring polling. So it turns out that we'll be okay.
User was moved to your channel.
Okay, well, again, thank you guys for coming, and we'll look forward to when we get to try Orsinium and can give you more feedback on that.
Before we go, we always ask this every single time we meet with you guys. Any kind of Easter eggs or little hints or any kind of cool stuff you can tell us about that you're allowed to? We always ask that.
If it's content from the crazy PvP team, you bet there are tons of Easter eggs all over the place.
But anything cool that you can tell us that we can bring back to our people to expect, basically, I guess, that we don't know about yet.
So Rich will punch me, and he's going to kick me in the face, but I'm going to attack, so he can't do it in the next 4 days, so I don't care. In the treasure vaults, there is a polymorph that lets you look like Zipkin. It's really rare, but they are in the
I heard about that.
So I have one last real quick request. International Talk Like a Pirate Day is on September 19th. And I don't know who I have to bribe in what way to get a pirate costume that my guild members can wear, like the one that we wore last year, to that party that we're going to have for International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Because the pirate costume we wore last year is no longer there. So you could just release it as like a one-time, hey, it's Pirate Day, everybody have this pirate costume, and I would send you flowers and like
and candy.
Yeah, whatever.
A pirate costume, huh?
Pirate costume. The Sea Drake costume, the Sea Drake one that you got on that island in DC. I loved that costume. I absolutely loved it, and it doesn't work anymore. So I just want my pirate costume back for my party that I'm planning.
The old female light red guard, yeah.
I hear a Crown Store suggestion.
Yes.
I would actually pay for it at this point. I'm sad that I lost it because I had it, but yeah.
Take all my money, please.
There's cool stuff coming on the Crown Store, but I will put a bug in our art team's ear about a pirate costume.
And you already have it.
I second
Elf
on that.
To get out of that hole.
Yes.
Was extra character slots going to be in the Crown Store anytime soon?
Wow, giving all our secrets away.
Well, we suggested that one a couple sessions ago.
It is on the list.
I love you guys.
And by the way, the undead coming mounts, you're going to make me buy a lot of mounts.
Oh.
Those are awesome.
I had a question. We heard a rumor that there was a max amount of mounts that you could have. Is that true or is that untrue?
Oh, shoot.
A max amount of mounts?
Yeah, like after you purchase so many, either from the Crown Store or through the stables, that you couldn't purchase anymore?
That's news to me.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, that's not saying that there isn't, but I don't know of anyone off the top of my head.
Okay, great. Because I love my mounts and I pay for them because I like to pimp my ride and I don't want any limitations.
If you hit that max, you might want to look into a 12-step program.
Wow.
There was some talk about the CP cap, but I think that one is still experimental enough and has been in the streams that we'll save it for another time.
Okay.
I think we're good to go. Thank you guys again for coming.
Yeah, thanks a lot, folks.
Thanks for inviting us. It's always good talking to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been great. Keep getting the feedback together, and we will make sure we do more of these in the future.
Thank you for the all-star lineup.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think most of us just haven't had time yet to do those dungeons. I know that's my problem. I'm just gonna have to try to do it next week.
I actually abstained on purpose so I could experience it on live with people. That would be fresh.
User disconnected from
I
your
watched
channel.
watched a video of Aloha and her group do White Gold Tower, and it was absolutely ridiculous. Like they were having issues with it, but awesome issues. Sorry.
I was wondering if Codetree got into those, or Code Try, or how.
Yeah.
I say it wrong.
Code try is how I go. Yeah, I've done the dungeons. They've been good. Some people were concerned about the lock picking mechanism.
Oh, that was in our list, and we kind of skipped it because we have some people. We had one player that actually deliberately doesn't do lockpicking because he figures it's a character role-playing decision. And there's apparently quests that he can't complete now because he doesn't lockpick. And also that dungeon, he's concerned about the fact that that character doesn't have the skills to lockpick. He doesn't like to lockpick.
But you can force the lock if you use the ledger domain.
But that would require doing a lot of lockpicking, which if somebody wants to be an upright and honest citizen, they might not have that skill line.
Point.
Yeah, that's actually, I've been looking more at like the whole RP side of things, especially with the event with Blue Skooma this Friday.
Oh, I guess that would
There
work.
you go. There's his answer.
Thank you.
Ansley, do you know if the issues with the subcodes not working ever got resolved?
I've had an issue actually. The last 2 cards I bought at Best Buy have not worked. It said invalid code, and I had to submit. I raffled them off to members in the guild, and they had to submit copies of my receipt from Best Buy.
Happened to me twice too.
I'm just like scanning the card and scanning the receipt and including it when they win, because I guess it's kind of a crapshoot whether it works or not. I just wondered if anyone heard if it got fixed.
Yeah, when we get a donation of a card for the guild, we pretty much are like, we need the receipt. It's kind of hard to put that kind of constraint on a donation, but it doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I asked for their email address, and then when they give it to me, I just send them the instructions. And from everything I've heard, it's it's been really easy to put in a ticket and get it manually activated. But I was just hoping they'd addressed it.
Is it always from a particular store?
It's the 60-day codes, all of them.
Yes.
It's 60-day codes.
Yeah,
I assume that's on PC.
Any region, any retail store.
I even heard somebody say that their local store that was stocking the 60-day time cards had recalled them and were no longer stocking them. So I don't know if you guys are rolling out 30 days or what's going on with that, but we have to contact customer support every time right now.
I'll ping our marketing group on that because that really sucks.
Please do. Yes.
Also, I know since you guys are still here, I'll keep going. We brought this up before, but is there any on the horizon availability that we'll be able to buy crown points, just crown points, not subtime, in the varying amounts and get a code so that we, a lot of us guilds, we give this stuff away as prizes. And I would love to be able to buy 1,500 crowns and give someone a code to redeem them. Anything like that coming?
I'm sorry, gifting? Is that basically what you're asking for?
Yeah, just like we do with subcodes right now. We go to Best Buy, we buy a subcode, we scratch the card and give them the code. Will there be some way, either physically at stores or even better online, where we could buy the various amounts of crowns and then get a code that we could give someone to redeem so that they would get the crowns?
That is another one of those things that's on our list. It's a little bit more long term because it has to deal with how you basically assign the entitlements for those crowns. But we're definitely looking at stuff like that to make the crown store a little bit more full featured.
Yeah, I mean, it's free money for you guys if you do it. There's a lot of us guilds that give out prizes like that to our members. And even if it's something I go to Best Buy for, and instead of being a 60-day sub with crowns, just crowns. So it would be less expensive and we could do more of it as opposed to only having that 60-day card option.
Well, plus there's the kids that are like 15 that don't have a credit card who have 20 bucks in their hand and they can go to Best Buy and buy those crowns without having to find somebody that's willing to use their credit card for them. So, I mean, that's important to have.
Raj, cough.
It's a nice way to get some more money into the company in the first place, and I see no reason why we shouldn't. I mean, lots of people want to donate, and it's kind of harder, especially with that part of it.
Yep, there's just only so many hours in a day, so that's what we're trying to prioritize and dig through that stuff as much as we can. Add as much stuff to it as we can.
Okay, so are we done?
Yeah, I have to go. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming and working on this and everything you've brought us and everything you're doing. I love it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, night, guys.
Good night.
Have a good one.
User
Thank you again.
disconnected from your channel.
Sleep tight. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
User disconnected from your channel.